Mark and Jade here. You are tuning into the Godbolt Life podcast, where anything goes because love covers all.
God uses marriage to grow us and accomplish His will. He's got plans for your marriage too.
Welcome back to the Godbolt Life
back.
podcast. We're excited about this because we just know that it's going to help so many people. It's honestly helped me just hearing you talk about things that I've never heard your perspective, especially we're in it, we're living the life, and we don't often look back to talk about real things from a real place of hey, this really happened. How did you feel during this time? But one thing about podcasts, and I learned this from my phone's vibrating, my bad. I learned this from my first podcast that will never be seen. That life is still going on as we're filming.
Yeah.
And so as we're filming, going through life, and it's how do you talk about things? I mean, it's almost premature to talk about.
Because you're in it, you're going through it. I feel even if you think about, babe, the last 2 years of our lives, or 3 years,
freaking crazy,
has been some people's 10 years,
oh my God,
squeezed into. So it's just, we've been going from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. So yeah, it's kind of now we're finally coming out of it and in a place to where we can say okay, what happened?
Yeah.
And how did we actually grow through these things? Because we've changed a lot.
We've changed more than every time. I think I heard Tim Ross say this. You know how much you've changed when you get around people that used to know the old you.
Yeah. And you feel we do not know each other anymore.
Nah.
We do not, we are
Facts.
not. Yeah. Yeah.
Think about leaving Oregon, which was crazy, insane because it was sporadic.
Yep.
COVID hit.
Yep.
And y'all, she over here. Yo, COVID hit. And we got what Soraya is. Okay, this is March.
March 2020?
March. This is March.
She's 9 months old.
Yes.
Maybe, yeah.
And it's been just us.
Yeah, in Oregon.
Pretty much in Oregon, just us. And mostly you, because I was still going to work up until a month, 2-3 months prior to that. My last day at Nike in the building was December something, December 13th.
No,
December 12th,
it was early December. Yeah.
That was my 2 weeks was coming out of Thanksgiving break, which would have been the end of November. So December, the second week of December.
Yeah.
But before that, I was pretty much, for the most part, outside of 2 months that I had for paternity leave, I was actually going to work. I would get up at 5:15 in the morning. I would shower the night before, get my clothes out. I would get up the next day, throw my clothes on, brush my teeth, and run to the train.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get home normally until 6:30, 6 at the earliest, but normally between 6 and 7. And you would be here.
So listen.
Here you go. And I'm you do realize that I just came from dealing with all this passive aggression, these politics, this just very nasty atmosphere. But I was at that point fully putting on the armor of God every day, going to work to be there, and then not necessarily having enough time to take that armor off before I'm coming in the house.
Right.
And you're fed up and tired and just needing space because you're dealing with a newborn.
I mean, a newborn by myself.
And your first
no
time.
Family.
First time.
No friends continuously. We had friends, but we were the first one in our friend group with kids. So they didn't really know how to support all the time. Yeah. So, and also they had jobs and stuff to do. So it's I was going through all the things that new moms go through at that time. So when you got home, I was here, because in my mind at that time, you had all day to yourself. Whatever you were battling, whatever you were.
Oh, that used to like get
you didn't have a person.
My nerves.
You didn't have a person literally depending on you for every waking moment. Because she never took a bottle, never took a pacifier, couldn't sleep by herself, like had to be held constantly. And I also had like new mom anxiety. So like I couldn't leave her in the room to take a nap because I'm like, is she breathing? Is she breathing? Is she breathing? Like constantly. So it was a whole thing, you know, in me, and I'm still trying to film content. Still trying to like get back, you know, like it was all of that. For the first time, I never experienced that type of shift before. So yeah, when you got home, here, take your child.
Which that was a whole
so
thing
I can have
too.
a moment.
That was the whole thing too, because like that's happening, and then work is just crazy.
Yeah.
On another level crazy.
Yeah.
And it got so bad, like the turning point was we were sitting upstairs in our bedroom at the foot of the bed. And you basically was just like, look, bro.
This gotta change.
Yeah, something gotta change. Because yeah, you're putting on this armor to go, but like,
which I did not understand at the time.
Yeah. But like when you come back in here, you still like have on stuff from there.
Yeah.
And it's coming in here.
Yeah.
Like you're not being what we need you to be.
You weren't being you. You weren't being the person I knew you to be.
Which is what was needed of me, especially during that time with a newborn child.
100%. Because I could tell, like, that atmosphere that you were going into every day was literally changing your whole, like, personality. Like,
I was convinced that I wasn't. That's the thing, right?
And how you think I felt? Because I'm like, hello, you are, like, not you anymore. You are like this frustrated, anxiety, like intense, can't put down work. You've been gone all day and you still on your laptop when you get home.
Yeah,
like
I bring my laptop home and like sitting in front of the TV with like a game on or something, and I was just like going in. And back then, like my relationship with God was limited to that lunch. It was early in the morning.
Yeah.
It was lunches when I wasn't like hooping or on a fast. And it was when I left, I would like pray, but it wasn't a continuous like all day thing. So I would get in positions at work where I was like, okay, like what do? I'm gonna go do this. And it would just like bring on so much anxiety and so much like extra, because one thing about corporate America, the politics are insane. And you can go into it one way and thinking that, you know what, I'll never do that. Yeah. I'll never, like, that's not. But eventually you will come to a crossroads.
Yeah.
Where you either do what everybody else is doing, fall in line, or you have a very rough route.
Yeah.
And I had a very rough route.
Yeah.
But that conversation changed things, because that made leaving it even more real. Rewind, probably a year prior to this, a year and a half prior to this, God told me to leave Nike, and I chose not to. It was comfortable, it was safe, it was like, yo, I got great insurance for my family, I'm making a decent living.
I mean, and the lifestyle we had. I mean, let's be honest.
Traveling around the world, like we had access to stuff. I'm always big on relationships. Like that's huge for me. Like to me, like you can be good, you can be a good talker, all of that. You can be good at numbers, you can have all it. But if you're not good at relationships, you will fall short, because at the end of the day, we're people.
Yeah. Like
people doing a job, but we're people first. I always say people over product. So it's like people over process, whatever you want to say, but like people come first.
Yeah.
So like for me, there was a place where I was like, okay, let me try to figure out how I can be me and still get the job done. And like that led to a lot of access to a lot of amazing things.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years. But it was coming to a close, and it was quite clear that it was coming to a close.
And it was a rough close at times because it was like.
What you mean at times? Well, yeah, at times. God ended up showing out, and we'll talk about that.
But I'm saying, like, it wasn't like a clean cut, like, thing. It was a couple years of it, like, slowly but surely just, like, not being good anymore. And it just started to, like, turn, you know? Like, it started to feel
like... It wasn't staying at work anymore.
No, it was like, okay, now, like, you know, you're bringing home stress. You're, like, and not being able to, like, pull back from it. And I wasn't in a position to, you know, like, understand what all was happening because I've never worked in corporate America. Most of the stuff was like over her head. Yeah,
like
because I'm not in that environment. The last time I was in any sort of like environment outside of working from home truly was when I was in grad school. So it was like, I didn't have this concept of like managers and like coworkers and all this stuff in the capacity that you were at, especially being at Nike. Nike, like it's
one of the top brands in the world.
Literally.
Yo. Nike's incredible. Like what?
Yeah.
The people, like all of these incredible minds.
Yeah.
Like the best in the business. People that like working for Nike was on their vision board at 12 years old.
Yeah.
Not for me, because where I'm from, and that was like a whole other thing, because I'm from Oak Cliff, Texas. Oak Cliff, Texas, the hood. And the only way to make a decent living for yourself was either you was working 80 hours a week, which my dad did, or you was an athlete. Music, even not really music unless it was gospel, because like rappers back then, it was all about Houston rappers. Like Dallas rappers there were local people that were good locally, but like now you have rappers today that's coming out of Dallas that are like on a bigger scale, a few of them, but like during that time it was Mike Jones, it was Paul, it was all the Houston.
That was an era. Okay, can we just have a pause? Look at what I'm wearing today. She's giving cowgirl, okay? She's giving cowgirl, okay?
Pause too, because oh my gosh. You look so good.
Thank you.
I was trying to hold on, but like when you stopped and drew all the attention and I got a chance to look, I'm like, girl. Okay. And we married too, so we can do whatever we want to do. Okay? We can do whatever we want to do. So yeah, cowgirls, like yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah. Like back, like it was those rappers or whatever. So like, there was I didn't know that you can work in product in Nike. I didn't know that you could.
That was like a thing, like a
design
whole
shoes and design clothes and work on these teams and do fabrics and colors, and I had no clue that any of this existed. So like, but I'm working with people like one of my coworkers. He had these baby shoes on his desk, like 4 pairs. I was always like, why does he have these old baby shoes? I'm like, I don't know, maybe they're like the first Nikes ever, or the first Nike kid shoes ever, and he's saving because like that was everybody's desk. It was like a shrine of like all of these things that you would collect from like family people, signed helmets, signed cleats, all types of stuff. So like I think my last week before I left, I finally like asked him like, yo, like what are these shoes on your desk? He's like, so like these are mine from when I was a kid because my mom worked at the employee store up the street. Wow. So like he grew up across the street from the campus. And those are his shoes. And I'm like, his shoes like 30 years old. I'm like, okay. So like people had exposure to this stuff well before people like me ever did. So the people I'm working with, especially the people that look like me, were people from the same types of backgrounds that didn't know that these opportunities existed, but they like floated, like they were the cream of the crop from where they were from. So we would all connect on that fact of like, yo, we making the most money that our families have ever made in this collective
and
black
it was like
men
all of our friends.
Group. Yeah, like
all
that was our
community
there.
Was really like special, like you are like you said, cream of the crop. Like, and that was honestly like, speaking of like great people, that's what I think I loved most about Oregon was like the state is beautiful. Like love Oregon.
If you've never been,
go. Okay.
Go.
But the people we met and the people we built relationships with were truly incredible
life relationships. I used to watch Martin and stuff, and I used to be like, man, I want a Tommy and a Cole. I want watching First Prince. I want jazz. Watching people grow up and like build these relationships. And like, I want that. Yeah. And we got that in the most natural
it was so fun.
way.
We had so much fun.
Friendsgivings was always popping. Like we did
Easter together. We did Super Bowl parties together. We did game nights. We went to church together. Like we did like life together. Like people having babies, people getting married, like people getting engaged.
Like going to weddings. We flew from Oregon to Dallas. Yes. For our friends to get married, like to go to their wedding, which was also incredible. That was the same weekend we had Sarai's, which is a part of the story. Yeah. But Oregon was like a fire, incredible place where we met some dope people that we still to this day talk to on a weekly basis. Like we love them. Yeah. And so all of this is happening, and finally I went for a job. Was highly touted for the job, killed the interview. Presentation was crazy. I brought samples of stuff that I did. It was just great. And didn't get the job, and they couldn't tell me why. I talked to direct. I talked to everybody, HR, everybody. Nobody could tell me why I didn't get the job. Everybody, man, you did great. Blah, blah, blah. And then I was going for another role on the same team, and great team. And basically, guy was like, "But I told you to leave." But I was still like, I was still what this is like. And one of the directors called me the day, was it the day after Thanksgiving or the day before?
It was the day before.
The day before Thanksgiving. I'll never get this phone call. And he basically said, I want to develop you in-house, basically on my team. I don't want you to go to another team. And at that point I said, you know what? I hung up the phone. We on Thanksgiving break too. So like to me, Thanksgiving break and Christmas break was like, I was like school because it was the same way. Like people would check out like
right. Like why are you calling me day before Thanksgiving?
Yeah, about a job. And I got off the phone. I looked at you. I said, babe, I'm not supposed to be here. And we'd had this conversation for years. At least a
couple years, somewhat.
Me telling you, like, babe, you know, God's telling me to leave, and you like, nah, like, there should be a plan. Listen, like you gonna start your brand, cool. So like, bridge that together and leave, making the same, like, basically have a plan. And I didn't have no time for no plan. Like people be like, oh, like your 5 to 9, what's your 5 to 9? My 5 to 9 had to become my family. Because when it wasn't, it was turmoil. Yeah. After the conversation that you had me in a room, that was the biggest shift. I started to leave my laptop at work. Yeah. I no longer brought it home. When I left there, that was it. Weekend, it didn't matter. Like it stayed on my desk because that was like me disconnecting, and it was hard for me because at the time, like, that was my advantage, in my opinion, like always being on. Yeah. Always seeing the next thing, the insight, the visionary.
You were literally trying to outwork everything that they were telling you because you were so like committed to that job. You were so focused on doing a great job that it was like when they started rejecting you truly and you couldn't understand why, it was like your automatic response was to like, oh, I'm just gonna go harder. Like,
oh, especially because during this time, like after the cheat stuff, I'm also building my relationship with God. So I'm fast, I'm doing the things. I'm like, God, why this ain't working? Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm showing up to work. I'm getting everything I got. Like, what's going on? And things were seemingly they were good from a work standpoint as far as like
performance.
I was killing. Numbers were crazy. The designs was popping. Brought new life to a dead category. Like it was blazing. My team was good. Like we were.
And the product that you were creating was like
fire. I was literally working on stuff with teams, like the first fully digital product team where like we saved the company millions of dollars by like not having samples, and I was like doing a part of the presentation pitch to like VPs, and like it was a big deal, but that was also pissing people off. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'm like, well, God, the performance thing feels like me back then. Performance thing feels like me. The relationship thing feels like you. What's going on? Because I'm doing my part. I'm being nice to people. I'm helping people. I'm showing up early. I'm serving. Mm-hmm. I'm that guy. Like, what's going on? Then I'm going home, and home is a mess. So I'm like, what's going on? And God wasn't going to continue to bless somewhere that I was not supposed to be. The clouds moved. So there's a story in, I want to say it's Numbers, where basically God was a cloud. It was a pillar of fire by night, and it was a cloud by day. And as long as that cloud stayed put, all the Israelites were to stay put. But that cloud could be there for a day, could be there for a month, could be there for a year. They didn't know. All they knew was, that's God. So wherever God go, I gotta go. Mm-hmm. Yes, there were people who was like, well, shoot, I like this spot. Let me, I built my tent looking nice. I got surround sound in that thing. I got my sheep out here popping.
Not the sheep.
God, I know you're over there, but this feel good. That was me.
Yeah.
Like, God, you've left, and I know that you left. I can feel that you've left. Yeah. But like, I'm almost at a job I want. I'm almost cracking 100K. Yeah. Like, money-wise. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So like, the conversation over, you finally looked at me for the first time ever, first time in years, and you said, babe, if God told you to do it, then do it. I'll support it. That changed things. And I don't know if you knew what you were doing, or I don't know if you understood what you were unlocking. This makes me emotional.
I did it.
Wow.
Oh, hey.
Wow. Whoa. Because to be honest, like, that's what was stopping me.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'm like, look, I'm doing my part. Bringing my check home. I'm not a bum. I'm not sitting at home playing games. Like, I'm actually like out here doing this, and I knew that this ain't what it's supposed to be, because this can't be it.
Right.
But you would always, I wanted to start out, but I wanted to do the things, and you would be like, well, no, babe, I gotta build this. And I'm like, then I read an article where it takes a brand 5 years before they start making real money. I'm like, what? I might as well camp here, because, I'm gonna start this business, I'm gonna start this brand, and I did. Like, I started to.
You did.
Godbolt started first, and I started dyeing shirts. So then I'm coming home, but I'm still going to work. Yeah. I'm coming home and I'm going to work. Yeah. So for me, I'm like, well, shoot, babe, I'm coming home. You trying to have me surround, but I need to go pop out these shirt orders because I got to do this. Right. I was dyeing shirts at the time, dyeing shirts for Russell Westbrook. Like, things were starting to pop off. Yeah. But it wasn't my full-time job. So something had to give. I was still trying to do all the things I didn't understand.
I feel like at that time, too, tie-dyeing was just an outlet. It was your safe space. It was a place where you felt like you were a valuable person. Because I feel like, through all the stuff you were going through at Nike, like, at the end of the day, they were trying to tell you that you weren't valuable. They were trying to tell you that, like, your skills weren't enough, that they couldn't even tell you why. They couldn't even tell you what was wrong. They just said, you're wrong. Yeah. You're not right for the position. Well, why? Yeah. Well, we can't really say. We don't really have an answer. It's just that this person had this other random experience. But it's like, so why am I...
But then that person... was sitting in front of me asking for my help.
Listen.
That was a whole other story. That was a whole other story. But like, we had my Kia Optima was in the garage, and I'm like, babe, I have a garage. He was like, yeah. So I pushed that. The battery didn't start. I had to start it forever.
I forgot about that car.
Push that car out.
That car.
Buy the battery, changed the battery myself, then sold it, cleaned out the garage, and that became my studio.
Yeah.
And like things were a little bit better, but again, the cloud has still moved.
Right. And God is gonna grace you. He's gonna still allow you to operate in your gifts. He's still gonna bless you.
Even in your disobedience, because like Saul was still king for years after he had been disobedient. God didn't just kill Saul and say, you know what, kingdom gone by. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we can take that grace as well for granted.
Right. And just keep riding.
Well, it's still working.
Right.
Like, I ain't dropped dead. They ain't fired me. But I'm like, well, then there were like 2 different layoffs during this time too.
Yeah.
I never got laid off.
Well, and that was like a false sense of security too, because it was like, well, dang, if God really didn't want us to be here, I would have got fired. But like, you did.
I gotta tell this story. So during one of the first massive layoffs there, they set up the layoff, like ground zero was on my floor.
The office.
Like 10 feet away from me. They took over this presentation room, put these manila envelope papers over all the windows, blocked them off. They would literally come out, they would go into this office and come out with this big envelope and walk up to people and hand it to them and walk them out. So, and they were there from like 8 a.m. I'll get to everything like 7:30. They'll be there from like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we supposed to work, get our jobs done, when at any moment someone could come out and hand you an envelope and basically tell you that
go home and don't come back. Like, what?
When this really popped off of me, like in a real way, there was a woman, been there longer than me, from Brazil, and she was working with them to get her green card. Mm-hmm. They walked out one day and gave this woman an envelope right in front of me. So the whole room was like, what in the... So y'all expect us to work at a high level when at any moment, every time you walk out this door, come this direction, I'm like, is it gonna be me? So like, this was also going on, and I wasn't touched. So like, God's grace was just all over that. You tell me I can leave. And literally like, what? That Monday I went back to work and I put in my 2 weeks. And everything shifted. Everything shifted. I made sure that I worked my tail off the whole 2 weeks. I made sure that the person behind me was in a good spot, because that matters too.
Yeah.
That was showing God. Like, they had nothing to do with the people there. That was me showing God that, like, hey, I'm not gonna just quit and cuss people out and throw my stuff and not work. Like, they were getting the same mark, if not more.
Yeah.
Those last 2 weeks. And then the day before I left, HR wanted to chat, and I sent them some information that was shared with me on my behalf, and they started an investigation on my behalf and paid me through the investigation. My last day in the office was like December 13th. My last Nike check was February
2020.
February 2020. So I got almost 3 months worth of checks. 2 months worth of checks rather, that I was at home with my family, with my daughter, at home.
And what else happened?
And then I get a call. So, okay, I went past. So, get off the phone, and wifey's like, babe, God told you to do it, do it. I said, okay. Gave her a big hug, tears flowing, and probably 10 minutes later, I get a phone call from one of my friends that I used to work with in Nike, again, going back to relationships, who is now over entertainment and influencer marketing for the NFL. And he's like, bro, I've been seeing these shirts you down there on fire. Like, can we send you some shirts to die for the Super Bowl, like for like our influencers? And I'm like, what? Yeah, like that was a whole $10,000 contract.
Out of nowhere.
I literally
out of
10 minutes
nowhere.
after I said, God, yes. God, I'm leaving. God, I hear you. I didn't have a plan before that.
Nope.
I didn't have no savings before that. I
Never
didn't know
had
the investigation was coming.
other opportunity
no other opportunity before that.
Like,
there was another job that was waiting. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go. Nothing. Just God, I'm being obedient. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. But I'm relinquishing control. And that's oftentimes one of the hardest things to do. Like that was the toughest step.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes later, $10,000 deal. Now, but this was even before we knew about the investigation.
Yeah.
Checks and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool. Now my mind, $10, man, it's the NFL. They got money. I'm going to get paid as soon as I get the job done. I'm like, when the job? January, I'm like, cool. Nike sent me a PTO check. I had like $100 PTO left. Okay, we can ride on this until January, then we get this $10,000 check. Well, COVID hits.
Yep.
So Super Bowl happened. Shirts fire.
Yep.
Press was crazy. Things are just booming. And it's great. They already told me net 30, which I knew about that because I've heard things. But think about net 30s and stuff. It's normally net 60. Like the net 30 just for the contract. You probably won't get your money for another month after.
We don't even want to go down that route, okay? Just know, when you are a freelancer out here on net 30s and net 60s and net 45s, it's net whenever they do the paperwork. So it's not when you sign.
Nope.
It's whenever they do their part and they start their net 30 process. That's when you get your money, if that's even somewhat on time.
So they're like, okay, cool. It's. But now, the investigation has started. So I'm getting checks. Like they're paying me as if I'm going to work, and I never had to set foot.
You never had to go back. You never had to go back.
God different. I did not have to go. They literally said, you can go home. You have no responsibilities. And we're going to pay you as long as this investigation goes. Could be 6 weeks. Could be 6 months. But we're paying you throughout the entirety. I'm like, I honestly didn't believe until I got the first check. I was like, oh, they serious. Like, it wasn't like a deduction. It wasn't like, no, well, you get half of it because you're not in.
Yeah.
I got all my money. I was still accruing PTO. I was the whole 9 as if I was going to work, but I was at the crib with my family. Like, God different. So this is happening. God also knew that this money was going to come later.
Yeah.
So these checks are coming. So then February hits and they're like, well, you know, Super Bowl is happening and people are out of office and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, cool. What can I do? So then that's over. Now we get into like early March. So I'm like, okay, everybody should be back now. And well, here's the tracking number for the check, but it's sitting on somebody's desk. And it's COVID. And nobody's going into the office. This is when COVID really hit corporate America like on another level. So I'm like, what? So I got this tracking number and I'm aimlessly putting it in like every day, hoping and wishing and praying.
Somebody picked it up.
And at some point it was gonna say like en route or whatever picked up. It was still like label printed, waiting to be scanned. So I'm like, I'm hitting up the contacts. He's like, man, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do because I'm not in the office either. I reached out to the people and they're not. So $10,000 check is just chilling somewhere.
And we got bills, y'all.
And we got bills. And now, February had Nike checks are done, but my last PTO check was like stupid. So that was like pushing us through. So then March hit, the end of March hit. And COVID is really getting real, and now we're looking at the news. And at this point, Jade was a CNN junkie. Like, she would just have a TV on CNN all day. I would come to work like
I know I'm not the only one, okay?
I would come to work like, babe, really? all day.
It was wild. Like, a whole pandemic was happening, and we didn't know what was happening.
You was doing that before the pandemic.
Okay, with all the politics stuff.
Yeah,
this is true.
This was when you was like in your Delta politics zone.
Yeah,
like, she just saw red all the time. Politics, like everything.
Yeah.
So, CNN popping like all day, every day, and she just getting more and more paranoid. So one day she was just like, "Call your mom, we leave. Like, we packing up." I'm like, "What? We what?" She's like, "Yeah, we're going home. I don't think they're gonna close the border to Texas. I don't know what they're gonna do.
I didn't know what they were gonna do.
We're going home." So I'm like, okay. I call my mom, and she would love to hear that. So she was like, "Come on, baby. We gonna sit." So literally, and what?
Oh, and on top of that, we had to cancel our wedding, which was, I was distraught, okay?
So we're also wedding. So, like, this is another thing in the whole concept of leaving Nike, where it was like, we're also planning a wedding that is a destination wedding in Puerto Rico?
In Mexico.
In Mexico. So that was a whole nother thing, where it's like, definitely need the money. People had already paid, like, we'd already had,
well, not even just that, like, we had a partnership with the resort. So we were going to be creating content for the resort.
Yeah.
We were going to get most of, if not the entire thing, paid for.
Yeah.
Like the flowers, the venue, everything.
Yeah.
And so when COVID hit, it was like, wait, we probably shouldn't leave the country. Wait, we have to cancel our wedding. Wait, people are getting sick and dying. Wait, what? I can't be here. I can't be in Oregon without family, without truly family. Because we had friends and everybody was super supportive, but everyone was a transplant. Like, everybody was like,
too. Like, they were all like, even more serious than us, because like they were like asthma, underlying issue.
We got kids, multiple. People were pregnant.
So like we were literally like, everybody was taking it very serious.
Yeah.
And that was like, okay, well, the support that we could have, we don't really even have access to that.
Right. It's not safe. It wasn't safe. We didn't know.
So called my mom. We decided to leave, and our lease was just ending.
Yeah.
So home wise. So things were working out without us realizing that things were working out.
Yeah.
So my dad flew, or when my dad flew, my cousin flew in to help us pack. Madison flew in to help us pack. Yeah. We packed, got a pod. The pod was delivered. We packed up the pod. We threw hella garbage in some random apartment complex. I'm talking about sneakers. I would just go and like drop off piles of sneakers like in boxes, and like the kids would go crazy, and it was incredible. But we're moving across the country
in the beginning of a pandemic. And we didn't. I mean, it was just very scary. The whole thing. It was just very. I mean, we have a 9-month-old. Like, we're literally getting rid of 2/3 of our things to stick it in a pod to go. At some point, we had to sign a lease to a townhome. So we never saw.
Because IKEA makes it easy to throw stuff away instead of trying
to bring it, because it ain't gonna last anyway. It ain't gonna last the move.
So it was like,
it wasn't gonna last.
I can replace this easily, so we just gonna break this down and get rid of it.
But we literally like didn't know where we were moving to. I mean, luckily we were moving back home to Dallas, so we knew the area enough. We knew, all those things, but we didn't see the apartment or the townhome before we moved in. We didn't know, we just signed stuff virtually and just left within 6 weeks. Like,
so, less than that. So we're packing, we get stuff done. Her and Sarai, Madison, y'all flew.
Yeah, we flew.
And they left probably 2 or 3 days before us, right? For the game?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Well, so we went, our friends, they came, and again, like, everybody's quarantining for real. So like, we literally set outside for 2 hours on our street with probably 10, 15 feet between all of us, sitting on our cars, just talking, just saying,
and that was so hard
goodbye.
To leave without hugging them.
Yeah.
Like, these are people we did life with for 3.5 years.
Literally.
Like everything. Like we at the hospital
for Sarai.
Yes, they were literally in the hospital room with us like 2 hours after I
They
had
were the ones that were prepared to house me for my cheating. Like they were like, "Brad, if you need somewhere to stay, we got you." Like we really did do life with them in a real way. Yeah. Said bye, isolated. Yeah. And then they leave. So the three of us are like packing some stuff. Me, my dad, and my cousin. And literally, like probably the day before we were about to get on the road, the check came. Yeah. Like literally the day before the check came. I go to the mailbox and I'm just like, I call him like, babe, like, it came. like
the
when it was supposed to, like when we needed it, not when I wanted it. I wanted it in January.
Because the moving expenses, like, unexpectedly, like, it was just so much. It was just so much on us.
The check came.
Yeah.
And the check came and it was like, wow, okay. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Like, now we can continue. Right. Like, it wasn't a check to say, okay, go buy a house now when you get there. It was like, get you to the next point. Right. Pack the last bit of stuff in, and we packed Bolt, put him in the truck, the Mercedes, and we got on the road 30 hours. Yeah. 30 hours on the road. This was a sorry story. Well, you know now, I kind of told you, but so I'm thinking my cousin's coming. He has a license. We got 3 licensed drivers in the car. So, break it up, maybe, not even break it up, 12, and whatever's left, 7, 8 hours, he can do it. We get in the car, and my pops is like, yeah, you ready? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Cool. Man, you got this. I'm like, huh? He's like, I don't trust him. He's not driving across the country.
He said that?
Well, he asked our cousin, was like, hey, you ever drove like open road for? He's like, I'm driving probably like, 2 hours. Then he's like, yeah, nah. He got no experience. So I'm like, I was trying to like keep it together and not let him know that I'm like, bro, are you serious right now? Like, I wasn't planning on this. So me and him drove, just us two, drove straight through. I mean, we called. It was scenic for a little bit, but then got Colorado, caught this crazy winter storm. It was like, what was it? It was probably 3 in the morning. And it's one of the scariest experiences of my life because it's a blizzard. I can't see nothing. I'm banking on this 118-wheeler they finally got in front of me that had lights trimming the back. I'm following him and staying in his tracks. He ended up pulling over at some point. I'm like, oh my God. Then it takes us through this detour where like visibility was like non-existent. I'm just praying. Look, God, it was insane, but we made it. Y'all were at Bruce's,
my dad's. Yeah.
And we got there April 16th, April 17th. Stayed there for 2 weeks.
Which was so good.
Which was so good. It was just like after everything that had happened, with COVID and everything considered, we're finally just chilling. Yeah. Like we finally get rest.
Yeah. And we needed it so badly.
Like God gave us rest.
Because we were just stressing. Like, outside of packing our stuff up, throwing stuff away, like handling a literally 9-month-old, like the wedding. Like,
we hadn't postponed it, we canceled it.
We completely canceled it.
Because we didn't know it was COVID. Like, we didn't know what was going on, like what would be required. We didn't know nothing. So we was just like, well, shoot, guess we won't be getting married on June 13th anymore. And we're there for 2 weeks. And this is something too, like, no matter what season you're in, leaning into that season. Yeah. Like, we could have been battling about, well, we didn't want to leave Oregon and like
or
look at everything we lost or all that. But we were like, no, like we're here.
Let's just go.
Since we're here, now that we're here in in her dad's house. Like, let's enjoy this rest. Like, there was no, we just got this $10,000 check. There's no, like, extraness that we need. Like, we're chilling. Mm-hmm. Let's lean into it. We spent the mornings in the hot tub.
Yeah.
That was our first break from Sarai.
Yeah.
They would take Sarai for walks and stuff, and just like, and we'd be like, well, shoot, like, we ain't had no time with just us without a kid in a minute. So, like,
since she was born.
We were just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And even not knowing it then, but we were listening for what God was going to have us do next.
Yeah.
And what came out of that was the wedding.
Yeah.
So this is April. We got May, June. So spend time at this house. They have a beautiful home. It's isolated, middle of nowhere, huge, big yard, 1-story flat. We didn't even know we wanted a 1-story house, which is what we have now, until that experience.
Yeah.
So we're like enjoying peace and quiet.
Yeah.
And like, wow, like this is different. We go see our spot, and it was cool.
It was like.
We'll fast forward over that.
Yeah, because that was
a whole nother experience. We'll fast forward with that because we really can't talk about that.
We can't talk about that
legally.
For real. Legally.
So we'll let y'all in there. But it was in downtown. It was nice. It was cool. High rise, 3 levels, all of that. But it was like loud, and it didn't really have like a yard, so we couldn't really enjoy like what we're used to, like
being outside.
And like. It was like from out in the trees amongst the beautiful nature to the city of Dallas. Like literally like the city of Dallas. And it was just an interesting experience, but we didn't spend a lot of time in there though.
Yeah.
We would oftentimes like leave and like go to your dad's or my mom's where like homes and places that were just like more chill, more quiet, peaceful. more peaceful, more out of the way. And that was when we're like just talking about the wedding. Like we finally picked that back up and we're trying to figure out like what's gonna happen with that. Yeah. And then who had the idea to do it in the backyard?
I don't know. I can't remember honestly. I think it was I don't know. I can't remember how we came to that conclusion.
I'll say for me internally, I hadn't shared this with you, but there was always this like homey, like backyard, you know, wedding vibe and energy that I always thought was like cool.
What?
Yeah, I really did.
No.
But I was honestly afraid to ask your dad to do it there.
You were?
Yeah, I was. Very. Yeah. Because I was just like, I mean, I don't want us to feel like we mooching. Back then.
I'm like, huh?
This was almost 2 years ago now. But back then, I'm like, man, we done moved across the country. I ain't got no job. They're very much so like have a job type of people.
Have a job type of people.
Like have a job, have a career, have a plan.
Right.
Like they're that.
That's where I get it from.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, I'm shacking with his daughter.
Lord.
I done knocked her up.
Lord.
Moved her across the country, back across the country. We about to move into an apartment. We're going backwards. Like, in the eyes of man and society and the world, we're going backwards.
I didn't even think about that, honestly.
Oh, I did. So I'm like, and now I want to ask this man to use his backyard to marry his daughter. Like, huh? But he's such a sweet person. He grew up in the Midwest, so like he's just an amazing person, and like Miss Michelle as well, great people. So they never made it like awkward. And actually, like we were talking about like different things I wanted to do, like for the business. Mm-hmm. We just launched Godbolt officially. And I'm looking for manufacturers and different things, and like they're actively like trying to help during this process. Yeah. So like I'm taking my iPad outside every day and literally I'm talking to God, I'm watching my messages, I'm diving in, but I'm also like, what's gonna happen? Like what am I gonna do? What are we gonna do? And somehow we get to finally, why not do it in the backyard? 3 weeks before the original date.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, well, what we got? We had $7,000 to work with.
Yeah.
All right, we got $7,000. That's including your dress. That's including.
Yeah.
And did you get your dress in
Oregon? Yeah.
So she got her dress in Oregon.
Yeah.
That was a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And hadn't gotten size or fitted for it because she was still like coming off of being pregnant.
Yeah.
So we got this raw dress. We got $7,000 in the backyard. And it became the best, still to this day in my opinion, the best day of my life.
100%.
The best day of my life.
100%. Y'all seen the footage. Okay, we gonna add some clips in here or something like that. But yes, if y'all like remember when I posted like, you know, the photos, I mean, so many people from our like just relationships that we had built over the years. Like having Cindy and what is it, Ari? What is his name? Ari?
Alberto. Shout out Alberto.
Listen.
From my old early marketing night you dated in Texas. Like dude was still a sophomore in high school. We was stealing him to shoot like content for us, like sponsored Nike content. It was crazy. He was actually borrowing schools cameras and lenses to shoot us. Wow. Yeah. But
him, Cindy,
how do we get in touch with the web planners? I forgot.
Erica, I just found her. Simply just found this woman. Erica like put together our wedding in a matter of literally 3 weeks.
I wore these fire ones that I got laser engraved, the date, the location, and everything. And the person I used, she'd done some Nike hangers for me like 4 years prior. I was in marketing, maybe 5 years prior. So it was like literally we were where we were supposed to be when we were supposed to be there.
100%.
God made sure that everything was like here.
100%.
And I still ain't got no job. Still jobless. But you could tell like we had the best. Our families came together. My dad DJ'd.
Yeah.
We
had a party that night.
We jumped in the pool.
With all
the stuff on.
Like,
your wedding dress.
What about it?
Then something happened with that was very like, that was God. Like you got it fit.
Oh yes, I got it. I got fitted in a matter of like 2 weeks. Usually fittings take like 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. And I got fitted in 2 weeks. Like it was altered at the altar in Dallas. Like they were incredible.
Took my baby up.
They literally, and so I still got to have like my say yes to the dress moment with my mom and his mom.
Which was big for you.
Yes, that was sweet. I wanted that moment because I didn't get to choose a dress with them in Oregon. They were all in Texas. So I got to have my sisters there, and like it was just incredible to have that moment with the champagne and like the whole thing, even in COVID, but like we still got to have that moment.
And my bishop that I grew up with, probably the most consistent man in my life, got a chance to officiate it, which was like huge for me. Like that was always a thing as a kid, like women out there, dress, beauty moment. Like for me, it was like I want this man to officiate my wedding. That was possible too. Yeah. So like literally, God gave us things that we didn't even know we wanted or needed during that season. So in this 7-month span, leave Nike, investigation, start a new business, got a new kid, COVID, move across the country, get a new apartment blindly, get married. 6 months in. Like 6 months in.
It was a very wild ride, for sure.
I continue to think about, even like talking about this now, just like God was just in every single part, like every single thing. We didn't want for anything. We didn't like it. It was just the moment we moved with the cloud, everything changed. We're meeting people that are like, they're not just doing their jobs, they want to help us.
Yeah.
They went out of their way, like they bent their prices. They like
yes, everybody, every single vendor we had adjusted their prices to fit our
some
budget.
of them was like, we don't want you to pay us. And we're talking about like our brother is one of the top. He now takes photos for Jordan Brand for like all the NFL guys that are like in their houses with their gear on and like he's a big deal.
And
like,
Cindy is a whole
Cindy, whole nother level.
Okay.
Like, and they want to be there for us.
Yeah.
And we couldn't pay them or repay them. Nor did we try to, go overboard, but it's like God was just working all in and through that thing.
Yeah.
It's wow. I'm lost for words, honestly, because when you think of time periods like that, and we go back, we continue to talk about like times growing up, how like God was in that thing and shielding us and protecting us, and like this is no different, where God shielded and protected us through so much.
Yeah.
And we still not deserving, but He's just been like so great to us.
And so faithful through the whole thing.
So faithful.
Like we were, worried at times. We didn't know how things were going to pan out at times, but He was just always there, like right on time, like just successfully getting us from point to point to point. And every time we said, "Okay, God, we're going to do what you say do," He took care of us beyond.
So rewind a little bit. My last time on campus, they called, he was in a car, driving through downtown Poland, and they called and asked if one of the leaders could be in the final wrap-up meeting. Like they wrapped up the investigation. I was like, hey, I'm going to share our findings and like the results, but there's a special request that this person that's normally not in these types of meetings but wanted to be in the meeting. So I put her on mute. I'm like, hey, what you think? She wasn't even my wife then, but I knew. Talk to your wife. I ain't making decisions without talking to her. Yes, I'm the leader and I'm the head and all of those things, but this is my half, my better half, my whole side. So why would I cut my side out and make the decision with this much? Why would I cut my body off and make the decision with this much? So I'm talking, babe, because I ain't gonna do it, honestly. My heart, nah, I don't want him there. But wife was like, you know what? Hear him out. I was like, okay. Unmuted her. I was like, cool. He can come. Set the meeting. It was like the next day or something. Go in there and they apologize. He apologized to my face. They wrapped up the investigation. And it turned out that I was in the right. Mm-hmm. And they offered me a position and wanted me to start on Monday. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, I'm going to talk to God about this. I said that. I'll let y'all know tomorrow. And they was like, okay, well, tell us tomorrow because we left you to come on Monday. It was Wednesday. I'm like, cool. I already knew what God told me to do. To be honest, even now, I don't know why I even did. I should have told him no at the moment. But I had to breathe. Yeah, I had to breathe. Like, it was a lot because that was a lot.
Well, because it was tempting. It was a job. And we didn't really, we had kind of a plan, but it wasn't a plan.
It was the role that I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And which I'm glad I didn't get, which is another thing.
That's a whole nother thing.
Because thanking God for doors that He didn't open. Because I didn't want that door.
No.
I thought I did. But what I know now about that door, I did not want that door.
Yeah.
It would have been worse than what I was already experiencing.
And can we just take a moment and talk about like how God will set a table and have your enemy sitting there?
Oh.
Like
talk that talk. Because I didn't even, that was like, yes, literal, oh my God.
Like,
literally,
this man
this HR person
who wasn't trying to hear me sitting at this table, this ER person that had interrogated me a couple times about some other stuff was sitting at this table. The leader that I was like jumping heads to talk to get help in my situation was sitting at this table. Literally all sitting at this table to apologize.
Yeah.
I was the last person to walk in this room. I walked in that room feeling empowered. Like, hold on. The tables have turned. I walked in a few rooms where I'm about to go in here and have to like speak up for myself and have to give reason and have to defend myself.
Defend yourself, like for real. Like there were accusations against you that were so ridiculous that we are gracing the people and this whole situation by not going into details, okay?
And I'm healed.
Listen, and we
was a whole part of like the wilderness journey too.
Why we can even speak about it now, because y'all, if we weren't who we are today, this conversation would sound a lot different, but we recognize the God in the whole situation. So it's not even about the people. It's not about the schemes of the enemy in that whole situation.
Because he thought that he was going to win. He thought that he would win.
Oh, he thought he was going to get you trapped at Nike. He thought you was going to take that job and you was going to stay and it was going to be a whole nother path you're going to be on.
Trajectory and do all the 3-year, 5-year plan, all of that. But I left, called wife. I hadn't left the building. I called him upstairs like, oh man, he apologized. They're offering me a job. And I called him the next day and said no. Because God told me to say no. Like the obedience wasn't to a point. It was all the way through. Slow obedience is still disobedience. 99% of obedience and 1% of disobedience is still disobedience. So for you to go through all of that, get used to do all these things, and then get to the point and say, you know what? Yeah, this is nice. Let me go. I went, turned in my stuff, and the rest is history. So yeah, like God said at the table, and that jump started all the blessings to where in a year's time we moved across the country, started new jobs, launched companies, got married, got pregnant again,
bought a home,
and bought a house in a year.
In a year.
God was that faithful in a year.
And I made Sephora Squad.
And you made Sephora Squad.
It was a very, very large check. And stable work for a year. And as a content creator, that's like non-existent. So, yeah.
So yeah, we when the cloud moves, move.
Period.
Cloud stays, stay. Because what I learned during that season, what we learned during that season is God's presence is really all we need. God's presence is enough. I mean, the house process, that's a whole other story that we'll get into another day as well. But like, even that, all the people were just different. Like, sent to us. Wanting to help us. The best in their class, but humble enough to help us in all of our noviceness, if that's a word, because we didn't know nothing about this process. But yeah, like God, when God's presence is there, everything has to work. Like everything has to be. And if you're going through something during that season, it's because there's something that has to be pulled out of you. But it's still God, love. Our producer, who is just an incredible person. Like we were having a conversation last week, and he said, "Pain is grace," and that changed things for me because it brought context to what I've been feeling. Like a lot of these things that we're talking about were painful, like painful. A lot of tears, a lot of things, and Nike, like for the last probably 6 months I was there, was painful. But that was God gracing me in my disobedience. So go figure, when I get in his obedience, everything shifts. And I don't have a 9 to 5. I don't plan on ever having a 9 to 5 again. As a matter of fact, one of my homeboys texted me after I went live and I left Nike. He was like, hey man, like my director at Adidas asked me about you. I kind of told her that you weren't really into the corporate life no more, but I figured I'd keep the title. So I'm like, yeah, man, I'm good on that. And yeah, God is, wow. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. You're so worthy, God. You're so worthy. You're so worthy. Thank you. None of this is possible without you. None of this is possible without you. None of this is thought of without you. None of this will happen without you. God, we thank you. God, we thank you. Yeah. Stopping point?
Yeah.
Stopping point. Stopping point. Stopping point. God, we thank you for your grace. God, we thank you for your love. God, we thank you for everything that you are. Even when we don't understand it, you're still good. Even in our pain, God, you're still good. Even in our disobedience, you're still good. Thank you for your patience with us. Thank you for your continued patience and your grace and your love with us. Thank you for being the example of a father with unlimited patience for his children. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode. We so appreciate your support, and we'd love for you to leave us a review wherever you are listening, and also visit us on social media. You can find us at Mark Z Godbolt and Jade Godbolt on Instagram, as well as the Godbolt Life on Instagram.